Hey guys, I'm Georgie from Itty Bitty Acres and I am the Sourdough Mumma. We are making a beautiful loaf today, either of Khorasan or spelt wholemeal, depending on which packet you've got. It's the same process, so let's have fun. This is my favourite thing. You need to have an active starter, so that means that you've fed your beloved starter Ruby overnight, or possibly all through the day and making it into the night. So this is my gorgeous, active, bubbling starter. Then you need 350 ml of water. I've got a 500 ml jug here just in case. If you have a dough whisk, this is just the best tool ever. It's your new best friend for mixing with so that you're not getting stuff all over your hands. But if you've only got your hands to use, that's totally okay. And I've got 2 teaspoons of beautiful sea salt here and my scales. Now, if you haven't used your scales for a while, can you just check before you start mixing that the battery is good and that it's also weighing properly, because I don't want anything to be out for you because I want you to get the best loaf possible. So first thing we're going to do is put our bowl on our scale and tear it so that the weight is 0, so you're not weighing the weight of the bowl. And you're going to pour in 150 grams of active bubbly starter. If you're a bit scared that your starter is not active, if it's deflated a little bit, you can do something called the float test. And what that means is just pop a drop of your starter in the water, and if it floats, it's totally fine to use, and if it sinks, it's not fine to use and you'll get a brick, so don't do that. Okay, so my 150 of starters in. I'm now going to tear my scale again so that the weight's back to 0, and I'm going to put 350 of my beautiful filtered water in. If you can use filtered water, that is definitely the best way to go, because you don't want any of those chlorine or other nasties in there from tap water. Okay, you can get rid of your scale now. Grab your dough whisk, or if you don't have a dough whisk, just grab a fork, and you can see how this starter is beautifully floating. That's what I mean by a float test. See all those beautiful bubbles and active yeast happening? And we're just gonna stir this up quickly so that it's all dissolved. Just makes it much easier to pour your flour into a liquid mass than a big sticky mass of sticky starter. Okay, I'm going to choose the Khorasan today. Oh, and there's my cup of tea. Make sure you have a cup of tea with you. I have a cup of tea with me at all times. All right, open up your packet here. Beautiful. And you're just going to pour the entire packet, which is 500 grams of beautiful organic flours, into your bowl gently. Try and do it gently because this flour does tend to fly away. Awesome. Okay, and now what I want you to do is just mix all of this together, whether it's with your hand or your dough whisk. You could try and get it with your fork to a certain point if you don't have a dough whisk, but then you're probably going to have to add your hands in, and that's totally fine. And it'll feel like it maybe is a little bit dry. It isn't all going to go together, but keep going because it will. Sourdough is very sticky and wet, and you just need to mix until you don't see any dry bits anymore and it's a big ball of dough. Alright, so it will feel super sticky on your hands if you're using your hands, and that's fine. You'll just have to peel it off your hands when you feel like everything is incorporated. But I do highly recommend a dough whisk. It is my best friend. I don't just have one. My husband even says, oh, you need a few more of these. Okay, so that's my dough. It looks shaggy, it looks unformed, it just looks like a big blob, and that's great. That's the look we're going for. So we're going to throw a tea towel over this now, and you can leave it for 30 to 60 minutes, and what that's going to do is make these beautiful starter and the water and the flour all relax into each other and get to know each other, have a little hug. That's going to start to create beautiful gluten structure and get everything moving in there, and then we're going to come back and add the salt. We're back. Your beautiful dough will have been now sitting for 30 to 60 minutes, and as you can see by the texture now, it's kind of slacked into itself and not as shaggy as it was before, which is great. It's exactly what we want. So now we're going to add the salt. I'm going to pop that in, and if you want to, but you don't have to, you can just add a little dribble of water on top just to soften the salt, but completely up to you. And now you're going to wet your hands. This is the fun part. Wet your washed hands. Hope you washed your hands. And put your hands together put this one hand together like this, and don't have your fingers spaced out like that. Keep them together. And I kind of push my hand around to get the dough off the bowl. So now it's kind of malleable and easy to pick up. And then I start to knead the salt into the dough. Now I have a little bit of a funny technique, I'm not gonna lie. However you want to knead it is totally fine. You can do it one-handed, you could hold the bowl here and kind of do this. I see some people twisting. I just have this roly-poly technique. So, can you see how smooth this dough has now gone when you've added the salt, and it feels almost slimy? Keep kneading until it changes and goes back to sticky. It'll take probably 3 to 5 minutes. You can almost see it now. It's changed texture again, and now it's a bit shaggier. That's what we want to happen. So just keep going a little bit more when you start to feel that happening. If your bowl is sliding or it's not a heavy bowl, you can pop a tea towel underneath and it'll stop your bowl from moving around too much if it is for you. And that's the kind of texture I'm looking for. See how it's not slimy anymore and it's gone back to shaggy. Even though it's super sticky like this, it's still staying in one mass, which is what we like. And now we're going to rest this for 30 minutes. And then we're going to come back and do 3 sets of stretch and folds in 30-minute increments. So set your timer and I'll see you back in 30. So we just added the salt and we've let it sit for 30 minutes, and as you can see, it's got a really beautiful shine to the dough and it looks like it's all one beautiful texture now and not a sort of sticky mass, I guess. So if you wet your hands and you kind of pick it up and do that, see how you can see through it and it doesn't break apart? That's called window paning, because it's like a window pane you can see through. That means you've got great gluten structure and texture, and your loaf is really going to hold its shape together and cook beautifully. So what we're going to do now is 3 sets of consecutive stretch and folds. What that means is wet your hands, your clean hands. Keep your hand like this again, your dominant hand, not spaced fingers apart but together, and just scoop all the dough off the edges of the bowl so that you can pick the dough up and it's a lot easier and it's not stuck there. And then what you're going to do, there's 2 ways you can do this. There's a stretch and fold or there's a coil fold. It doesn't matter which one you do, it just matters which one feels more natural to you. So this is a stretch and fold. You scoop the dough, you pick it up, you fold it down. Turn it, scoop, pick it up, fold it down, turn it, scoop, pick it up, fold it down, turn it, pick it up, fold it down. 4 times, north, south, east, west. That's called a stretch and fold, and you're just aerating the dough, making it realize that you want it to build tension and putting it back down. Or if you want to, you can do 2 coil folds. This is my favorite. So I put both my hands together, fingers together. I scoop the dough from the middle and I pick it up and I set it back down, turn it 1 time, scoop the dough from the middle, pick it up, set it back down. That's all you do. Now we're going to cover it again. Put your timer on for another 30 minutes. Do either the stretch and fold or the coil fold again. Put your timer on for another 30 minutes. Do it for a 3rd time. and then we'll come back and look at our dough and talk about it again. So now you should have done your 3 stretch and folds or coil folds, and now we're at the bulk fermentation part. So what you're going to do now is just let your dough sit covered for an hour, hour and a half, and then we're going to bring it back and shape it. And this is my favorite part. So get ready, get all your bits ready, get your bowls ready, tea towels ready, and your banneton if you've got a bread proofing basket, whatever you've got. Get ready, whatever you need to get ready, and we'll shape our dough in an hour to an hour and a half. All right, it's my favorite time. This is my favorite therapeutic thing to do, is shape your loaf. Now look, it's not easy, okay? You could be really good at it or really crap at it. I did not wake up being amazing at sourdough, so it is a skill and something that you're gonna work on and master, but give it your best shot. You could keep replaying this and watching it, watch my hands move. You can watch me on Instagram, it's itty.bitty.acres, and I often put up a lot of videos on there about shaping. So don't give up and don't be disheartened if it feels unusual, because it's kind of a funny, unusual thing you're doing with your hands. But let's get into it and see how you feel, and just keep practicing, okay? So, got your beautiful dough bowl here. You've got little, probably fermentation bubbles by now. I've got quite a big cute one there. You can pop it if you like. That also brings you a bit of joy. Got very sticky dough, but as you can see, it's all nice and smooth and together. It's not that rough, shaggy look anymore. And, just flour my fingers, you've got beautiful window painting happening. Beautiful window painting, where the dough isn't just falling and breaking apart. So that's amazing. That's what you want to see. What we're going to do is use a bit of your feed your starter mix, and I've got it in the bowl here, and you're going to pretty well flour your bench. Give it a good cover. Okay, and give yourself a bit of space. So keep your hand like this again, your dominant hand. Pick your bowl up and just gently edge your dough out. And as you can see, there's beautiful bubbles in there, and even though it's super sticky, it does just naturally slack out, and there's really nothing much in the bowl there, which is awesome. It's wanting to be one, and that's great. It's one with itself. Now, flour your hands if you like, that's fine. This is where we swap the water that we were always using when we were doing the stretch and folds now to dry flour. And what I'd like you to do is pull the dough from the bottom out. Do you see how I'm sort of fanning the dough out like this and trying to go from the middle so that there's no lump in the middle of the dough? You could also gently place your hands there and just pull it out. And this is called laminating, and some people like to show off, not me, and go for, you know, quite a big area, which you could do, but I don't really have time for that. I'm just trying to make great bread. So this is far enough for me. It's like the size of 1.5 A4 sheets of paper. And you'll feel the dough is like beautiful and soft and supple. It's not tearing, it's all staying together. It's got beautiful gluten structure. Now I'm going to teach you 2 folds. So this is the first one. This is what I kind of call the Chinese dumpling. And I just pull it a bit, stretch it, flip the dough in. Pull it, stretch it, flip the dough in. Flip it in, pull it, stretch it, flip it in. I've kind of got a little parcel here now. I can kind of pull these edges up, and you'll feel as you do that, there's more and more tension until I can't really pull anymore. And then I'm just going to flip it over. And so now I've got this beautiful, very smooth little dough ball with no creases or crevices. Now here's the kicker, watch me closely. This is the shaping bit. I put my hands together like this, not my fingers apart, my fingers together, and I jam them together like butterfly wings. And I twist the ball and tuck it under, twist and tuck it under, twist and tuck it under. I'm tucking it under like a sheet, like a bed sheet if I was making a bed. And as you can see, it's created a nice beautiful shape. I didn't do it very many times, and it's also created a nice tight skin on the top of the dough. Don't worry if you didn't leave yourself enough space and you got down here and you were losing your dough ball. All you need to do is put your bench scraper underneath so that you're not compressing the dough, and move it back up, and that will give you room again to shape it. Tuck it under, twist, tuck it under. Or if it feels more natural for you, you could pull it straight from there. See how it's doing that? Tuck it under, pull it straight from there, tuck it under. Now I've done it quite a few times. It was a bit excessive, but I was showing you. Don't do it that many times. Once you've got this great shape, just leave it, because you can do it too much. This will start to tear and let out all the beautiful gas and airs that you've created in there. So now we're going to do a bench rest. This is our first bench rest, and we're going to leave this dough ball for 10 to 15 minutes. It should sit here beautifully. It's learning to stay in the shape that we wanted and listening to its mummy very well, and then we're going to come back and do a final shape. Okay, we're back for the finale. I really love this stuff a lot. All right, see how my dough ball is still in its beautiful shape that I left it in. It hasn't really like slumped and slacked out. If it was really, really hot, you might have that trouble. Like if it was 30 degrees in the middle of summer and my house was hot, you may see your dough start to flatten out. In that case, don't let it keep going. Just shape it quickly and put it in your proofing basket or your bowl and put it in the fridge straight away. Don't let it get out of control, because you won't get a great loaf of bread. So, you know, there are a few leeways where if you think common sense, oh, that shouldn't be doing that, shape it quickly, make it the shape you want and the height, and pop it in your bowl straight away. All right, this is our final shape. Now you will feel, I'm gonna flour it a tiny bit, but not much. You will feel now a totally different tension experience. When you're pulling it out, you won't be able to pull it out anywhere near as far, and also it won't be anywhere near as sticky, so you don't need as much flour as last time. So use your bench scraper if you've got one, or your spatula, because I don't want to pick this up even as gently as I'm trying to and compress all the beautiful air out of it. I'm going to use the bench scraper to slide under. I'm using my hand to glide, and I'm flipping it. Look at that beautiful thing. And now I'm just very gently pulling it out like this. I can't actually get much pull out of it because the tension's great. It's built up awesome, and that's what we want. So the other way that you can shape and fold your loaf, if it feels better for you, is to do this. Pull in the sides, fold it there, and roll it like a roll. Then you've got these two little bums at the end though, which can be a bit troublesome. What I would do in this case is you kind of tuck them under and pull it towards you. Tuck them under and pull it towards you. And now I've got this nice sandwich shape if I was going to use either this banneton, which is a traditional proofing basket, or if you're going to bake in a loaf tin. That's the way I would shape that loaf. But what I'm going to do is the romantic round shape, because I love a bit of romance and I love a round loaf. So again, I'm putting my fingers together like butterfly wings, and I'm twisting, tucking under, twisting, tucking under, twisting, tucking under. And now I have this great shaped loaf. And that's all you do. I flour the top so that it doesn't get sticky in my basket. So flour the top. There's two ways you can do this. You can either lay a piece of baking paper out and pick it up, put it on the baking paper, pop it in the bowl, and you can cover that and put it straight in the fridge. Or, this is the way traditionally you do it, you use your banneton. This is a proofing basket. It's got beautiful aeration holes here so that all the dough proofs evenly. So I grab a tea towel, love a bit of leopard, and pop it in your basket. Flour it really, really well so it doesn't stick to your tea towel. And what you're going to do again is use your bench scraper or your spatula if that's what you're using. Pick it up and flip it. So now the top is on the bottom is on the top. It's going to have this beautiful shape of the basket, and you're going to be able to tip it out beautifully to do the amazing scoring and get that awesome sourdough ear tomorrow when we bake it. So just take a bit more of your Feed My Starter mix for the top because it's quite sticky, and just flour that over. If you had a few holes or gaps that you weren't liking there, you can pinch them together and that will just let the dough slack into itself. And now fold it up. We're going to pop it in the fridge overnight. And the reason I love this method is because It hydrates the organic flours, it hydrates all the goodness, it ferments even more and creates amazing taste and flavour and also texture inside. So for all those reasons, I highly recommend doing this process. It will give you the most beautiful loaf of bread tomorrow. So pop this in the fridge and we will get back together tomorrow to bake. Okay, if you don't have a proofing basket or you're using a bread tin like this, or you're gonna cook round, this is how you will transfer your dough. So grab your piece of baking paper, use your spatula or your bench scraper, pick up your dough gently like that, pick up the edges, pop it in your bowl. Yes, it's going to seem a little bit squashy, but you want this loaf to rise up, not out and flat. Does that make sense? Likewise, if you'd done the loaf tin shape, you'd just put that in there and it would slack into the shape. So now I would cover this dough like so, or with a beeswax or a plate if you wanted to, and pop it in the fridge till we bake tomorrow. Finally, it's time to bake our beautiful loaf of sourdough bread. So it's been fermenting beautifully overnight in a cold proof, and now we're going to put the oven on. So if you're going to use a Dutch oven, this is what a Dutch oven is. It's just basically a metal casserole dish, like cast iron. I turn the oven on to 250 and I put the Dutch oven in at the same time. This basically creates an oven within the oven, because bakers have these beautiful ovens with all the settings, and they can do steam and they can put perfect temperatures on, and my oven is fairly average and I'm trying to mimic a baker's oven. So by using a Dutch oven, it creates an oven within the oven and gives me a really even bake. Now here's a hot tip. At the same time that I turn the oven on and I put the Dutch oven in, I put my loaf of dough out of the fridge and into the freezer. That's what they don't tell you on Instagram. And that just, it doesn't freeze the loaf, because you're only gonna have like 30 or 40 minutes waiting for the oven to heat up. But what it does is firm up the dough to give you more time to do the beautiful scoring, which is the beautiful pictures on the loaf. So right now, grab your Dutch oven if you're using one. If you're not, that's totally fine. Just turn your oven on to 250 on fan forced and put your dough, if you're using the Dutch oven, into the freezer. Okay, my Dutch oven is in. Just be aware that it's going to be raging hot. That's why I have these silicone mitts. You can use regular oven mitts that you have at home, but just be aware that that cast iron Dutch oven is going to be super hot, so make sure that the heat doesn't go through and burn your hands. Now put your timer on. I like to heat my oven and Dutch oven up for at least 30 minutes. 30 to 40 minutes is good. So I like to time that just so I don't have to look at the clock and remember, and someone's not talking to me and I forget what I'm doing. So pop your timer on for 30 minutes, and as the oven's heating up, we'll prep your dough. Okay, it's time to score our beautiful dough and bake it, and this is one of my favorite parts. So I've grabbed my dough in my banneton out of the freezer, or if you have yours in a loaf tin or the bowl, that's fine too, just grab it out. I'm gonna unwrap my beautiful dough. So it's not frozen, but it is nice and firm. Grab your piece of baking paper and I pop it on top, and I just very gently turn it up and onto the bench, and then pull away your tea towel and banneton, and you've got this beautiful dough shape. You even sometimes have this beautiful pattern from the banneton. Now open your Feed My Starter mix, and this is a very professional. You don't have to do this, but you can. If you want to, just grab a little bit of the flour in a tea strainer and you can dust the top of your loaf if you want that that floured sort of look, and you've got that contrast when you do the scoring. Or if you don't want to go this far, it is a bit excessive, you can just pop some Feed My Starter mix on here and smooth it over with your hand like that. Beautiful. If you feel like it's sliding a little bit, you can give it a bit of a reshape. And then scoring. This is a lame, and a lame is a specific tool to score beautiful sourdough with. It's very sharp, it's got a razor in it, it's very thin. You can try and do it with a kitchen knife, even though I know a kitchen knife's a bit, very sharp too. It's quite thick and it can drag the dough. So if you don't have one of these to start with, it's totally fine, but I would suggest getting one because they're amazing, especially if you want to do all the beautiful patterns. And what we're going to do is just a traditional ear today, and I'll make some videos afterwards of how you can do some beautiful scoring, but we're just going to do the traditional ear so it opens up. I put my lame about 2/3 of the way over and I go in sideways. I'm not going in straight down. So I'm going in sideways, I'm fully committed, and I do a big cut and it starts to open up, and you can already see all of the beautiful air pockets and gases in there that are going to create the beautiful crumb in the sourdough. Now we need to work quickly here, so grab your Dutch oven out with your mitts because it's raging hot, and we're going to pop the loaf into the Dutch oven. Okay, my Dutch oven is raging hot. I'm taking the lid off. This is a very well loved, very well used Dutch oven. I'm popping my bread in. You can hear it sizzle a little bit. I'm putting the lid back on and I'm quickly putting it back in the oven. Now there's a 2-part bake to this sourdough bread. So the first bake is 20 minutes on 250. So make sure you set an alarm. If you don't have a Dutch oven, that's totally fine. You can bake it open-faced in a tin. So I've created a loaf tin shape here, but you could very easily cook a round loaf in this springform cake tin. So either or is totally fine. And again, what you're going to do, if you want to, if you like this look, I suggest you try it, is sprinkle the top with flour so that you get that nice contrast when you score it with your lame. You can smooth it over if you want or not. And then with the lame, the look that I like with this loaf tin is just quick little nicks like this, spiral, and it will come up like a spiral. Now the way to cook in an open-faced tin like this, there's a little trick to creating steam in your oven. So your oven's on 250, it's hot, it's ready to go. I get a hot cup of water next to me and I make sure that I have a tray in the oven. And as I put this loaf tin in the oven, I tip the hot water into the tray, so not onto the dough but into the tray. It starts to create steam that I want like a baker's oven, and I shut the door quickly. You only have about 10 to 15 minutes to get the rise in your sourdough. The rest is cooking time. So we want to get the best rise and the best crumb to have an amazing loaf, right? So have a hot cup of water next to you, pop your tin in the oven and pour the water into the tray. If you don't want to do that, you could put like a Pyrex dish into the oven with hot water in it. That will also create steam. Or when I'm really lazy and I forget the cup of hot water, I just grab a couple of ice cubes and chuck them into the tray because they'll melt and create steam as well. So let's pop this in the oven now. My first 20-minute alarm has just gone off, and this is the most nerve-wracking part for me, taking the lid off the Dutch oven. Even now, I've made like hundreds and hundreds of loaves. It still makes me excited every time. So grab your gloves and let's get your loaf out. Okay, here we are. Let's see how great of an ear I got, if any at all. And look, if you don't get an ear, it's totally fine. It's just what all bread makers go for. Okay, so don't forget your Dutch oven is super hot. Pop the lid off. Ah, it's beautiful. So see how I've got this nice expansion and this ear? And now we're going to put it back in with the lid off and turn the oven down to 220 and set your timer for 20 minutes, and it's going to brown up the loaf and make it beautifully cooked and fresh for us to eat soon. If you are cooking your loaf right now in a loaf tin or the cake shaped tin, don't obviously open the oven because there's no lid to take off because you're not using a Dutch oven. All you need to do is now turn your oven down to 220 and set your timer for another 20 minutes. Okay, look at our beautiful loaf. The second alarm's gone off, so we've cooked it for 20 minutes at 250 and then 20 minutes at 220, and this is the amazing result. So this Dutch oven is still super hot. What I'm going to do is just very carefully, so I don't burn myself, grab the edges of the paper and pop it down on my little tray here. This Dutch oven is very well loved, sorry. I'm super proud of this loaf. Look how gorgeous she is. Wouldn't anybody be stoked with that? So what I like to do if you do have one at home is grab your thermometer. If you have a meat thermometer or a milk thermometer or a candy thermometer, you can test the internal temperature of your loaf just to make sure it's cooked. I try and find somewhere where there's already naturally a hole so that I don't wreck my beautiful picture. And I go in the middle. I don't go to the bottom of the loaf. I go middle of the loaf. As long as your thermometer gets to 95 or over, your loaf is beautifully cooked and you've done an amazing job. I also baked a separate loaf in the loaf tin so that you can see the two side by side. So this was done in the Dutch oven with the lid on and then the lid off, and this was just done in the oven lid off the entire time. And as you can see, it's still beautiful, still looks like an amazing loaf of bread. We'll pull it out now and have a little look. Whew, it's hot. Hang on. This one is the spelt wholemeal and this one is the Khorasan, but you could do either shape in either way. Now what you have to do with both of these bakes is wait an hour at least to cut your loaf. And I'm sorry. I know that's not what you want to hear, but you cannot cut hot bread and there's a good reason for that. So if you cut this right now, it's still cooling down inside, there's still lots of crumb forming happening, and if we cut it, this raging hot heat that it's been cooked at and is still inside hits the cold air from the outside and squashes all of your beautiful little air bubbles that you've created with the sourdough starter together. So your loaf will kind of deflate. So if you don't mind and you just want to eat hot bread smothered in butter, that's totally fine, rip it apart. But if you want best practice, leave it to cool down for an hour and then slice it and share with your family. This is it. This is the time we get to cut our bread. Invite your friends over, invite your family over, get your butter out, make some homemade jam, and let's cut into these loaves to see what the beautiful crumb will reveal. Now, if you don't have one of these bread knives, that's totally fine. You may have something like this, a normal bread knife. You can just, I hate cutting these because they're so beautiful. I never want to mess them up. You can just choose wherever you'd like to cut it down the middle and go for gold, and we'll have a look. Oh, it's a big loaf. These loaves weigh a whopping 860 grams when finished, so it's pretty awesome. And look at this beautiful crumb inside. That is just the most amazing loaf. Let's cut her in the middle and see what she's like. This one will be slightly denser because of the wholemeal, but the wholemeal gives such great flavour. Oh, look at that beautiful even crumb. It's gorgeous, isn't it? The way that these bread knives work, or bread bow knives as they're called, is you pop it on the loaf however thick or thin you want your crust, and then you just start cutting down, and it cuts the most beautiful, perfect slice, like so. Look at the evenness of that. Your loaf isn't all wonky. It makes you happy about your life. Now you can slather this with butter and just make a cup of tea and eat. So when you flip your dough into your banneton, if the bottom of it looks like this, don't worry. It would cook fine if you did nothing, but if it's hurting your ego a little bit, we can fix it. So just get your little pinchers on and pinch the dough. If you want to use a bit of flour, you can. Pinch the dough together and it will all go back together, and that might make you feel better. But your shaping was probably amazing. You should be super proud of yourself. This is not easy, I know, and it's a really unusual technique, so be super proud. Wrap your little dough baby up, put him in the fridge, and we will bake him or her, I should say, tomorrow. See you then. A loaf of bread is a really beautiful present for someone, and someone knows that you handmade the whole thing from scratch, so it's really lovely and it's always received well. What I usually do is just keep the baking paper on, and then I grab a cute piece of ribbon and kind of tie it around. This is funny to do on camera. Tie it around, give it a cute bow. You could put a little card on it if you wanted to, and give someone the gift of bread. It is a great idea to keep a bread diary when you first start making sourdough. And I know that sounds a little bit funny, but it's true, because I still have one loaf that I made about 2 years ago that haunts me because I have no idea what I did to it, and it was the most amazing sourdough I've ever made. So what I mean by a bread diary is each time you make a loaf, maybe write down the temperature of the oven, the times that you let it ferment for, whether it was overnight in the fridge or overnight plus, 5 hours into lunchtime, whether you cooked it in a Dutch oven or you just used the tin method, whether you accidentally missed the timing or your timer went off or you forgot to put a timer on so you're not really sure what the time was. So all these things will kind of give you an overview. If you make 5 loaves and let's say you had 4 great ones and 1 crappy one, you could then maybe look at your bread diary and see what you didn't do to this crappy loaf that you did to these 4 amazing ones, and then you know how to bake better bread. So I just wanted to say a massive thank you for coming on this sourdough journey with me. I hope that it's made you really happy, really confident. I hope you're super proud of yourself. I hope you've eaten some delicious flavors and bread that you haven't had for a long time. And most importantly, I really hope it's brought joy to your kitchen and your home and your family. These are online on my website, ittybittyacres.com.au, and they're actually available on subscription because we all want a fresh loaf of bread each week, right? So you could set up a subscription, you get 10% off, and that can come either fortnightly or monthly, whatever you like. And that way you always know that you've got bread or focaccia in the pantry, and you can pull out your sourdough starter and bake anytime that you want to. So just remember, your sourdough starter is alive. It's a live culture that is always happy. It just might be a little bit asleep, but it's always alive and ready to make bread if you feed it and activate it properly. These come together online as a kit as well, in a big beautiful bag ready for you to get started on your sourdough journey, and then you can just individually purchase what you want as you need it. It's a beautiful gift for Christmas, it's a beautiful gift for birthdays, it's a beautiful gift for someone having a hard time that might just need some therapy, dough therapy at home, and some personal space to do something for themselves. The aroma of fresh bread baking in your house is just magical. So please do tell your family and friends for me, that would be great. Especially people who are gluten-free. This is a real game changer for anybody that's celiac or really gluten intolerant. I would love to be able to share this with them. So thank you so much for joining me. Please feel free to contact me anytime on the website or Instagram. I hope that you're super proud of yourself and everything you've accomplished in your kitchen with your baking over the last couple of days. And I really hope that you have fallen in love with sourdough as much as I have. This is a beautiful tradition to start baking with your children and your family and eating with them and creating great memories around bread.